The Death Knight is gonna be one of the most popular classes in Cataclysm, and we're gonna be talking about Blood very soon. We're almost done with all the DPSers, but Frost is actually the simplest and it is currently performing very well. Now Frost can do dual wield and can do two-handers. For the sake of this guide, we're gonna be talking about two-handers for two reasons. First of all, it is easier, even though it does very similar damage if not better. Secondly, it has much stronger AoE. And while you could definitely play dual wield Frost and do very decent damage, I think there is no real reason to go dual wield over two-handers, so we're gonna talk about it. Now first of all, we're gonna be taking Plague Leech. It will give you 2 death runes. Runes are your main source of like power, is your combo points or your lunar power, whatever you may call it, and it will give you more of them, and that means more abilities. After that, for the defensive cooldowns, we're gonna be taking Anti-Magic Zone. It is a raid-wide cooldown. It is like a dome, like the Priest Dome, but only for magic. It is absolutely freaking broken. There is really no reason to take anything else. After that, for the mobility tier, we're gonna be taking Death's Advance. It is 10% more movement speed. You become very resistant to slows. You can only be slowed all the way down to 70%. And it is also a 30-second cooldown that will give you 30% movement speed. Is the Frost Death Knight as mobile as most other melees? No, it is not. But it is still the best thing you can get in here. After that, we're gonna be taking Death Pact. It is a 50% heal. It is the best defensive cooldown you can get in here. After that, we're gonna be getting Blood Tap, which is gonna be yet another way of getting death runes. And finally, we're gonna be getting Gorfin's Grasp. It is an AoE pool similar to the Boomkin or something like that. Being able to stack all the enemies into a single point, it makes it way more damage for the raid. Okay, do not consider your value, consider raid-wide value. If everything is stacked up tightly, that means more AoE damage for everybody. So it is by far the best ability you can get. Now for the glyphs, we're gonna be taking the Glyph of Pestilence, very important. It will make your Pestilence a bigger radius. AoE is gonna be kind of annoying to do as a Frost DK, as any DK really. I kinda hate doing AoE as a DK. You are gonna shortly see why, and a little extra radius is gonna make a big difference. Then we are gonna be taking the Glyph of the Loud Horn. It is 10 more runic power when you pop it. So whenever you are down on runic power, you can pop it and get more abilities off. And finally, we are gonna take the Glyph of Anti-Magic Shell. Ridiculously powerful. You are basically gonna get a big shield against magic damage. And if you're a DPSer, most of the damage you take in a fight is gonna be magic damage, because that is the AoE damage, right? Like the boss is not gonna be hitting you, the ads are not gonna be hitting you, it is only like the global damage or like standing on fire, stuff like that. And since you are not very mobile, being able to ignore damage will make it so you get better uptime in some fights. If you can ignore moving out of something sometimes, that will translate into damage that you desperately need. You cannot heroic leap away, you cannot sprint, you are kinda screwed. There is actually 2 important glyphs you want in here. First of all, it's gonna be the Glyph of Army of the Dead, right here. It will take away the taunt of your army, so this matters the most when you're trying to pop cooldowns on an ad phase. They will taunt the ads and they are gonna take aggro from the ads and they are gonna die, obviously. And that will cost you damage. Now, some situations you want them to taunt the boss because they are taking too much damage to help out the tank or whatever. I get it. 90% of the time, the taunt is actually bad and it is always a DPS loss. So look at it like more uptime, more damage. And then for the second cooldown, very similar logic here. The Glyph of Tranquil Grip will make it so you do not taunt your target when you do Death Grip. So if you want to pull up an ad to you so you can DPS it faster, you are not going to take aggro and die anymore. So that will also, because you are very immobile, give you more uptime. And if you're using it well, you're actually helping everybody else get to the mob faster, which in turn is more damage. And you could not do that if you had a taunt on it, because you would take aggro from the ads and there is a good chance you would die. You can even use it in some fights as a cheese, so you can pull a mob away from the tank and the mob is gonna run back to the tank, and that will actually give the tank a couple more seconds of not taking damage. Your stat priority is actually different for two-handers. First of all, we're gonna be taking strength like every other time. Strength is damage, strength is attack power, strength is the best. After that, we're gonna take the expertise cap and the hit cap of 7.5%, very standard here. And we are gonna be stacking crit like an arms warrior. And there is a reason for that. You actually do a lot more weapon damage with your abilities, and your mastery, which is gonna come next, is actually not very good for two-handers. Your mastery is gonna be more frost damage, which makes sense, we do frost abilities, but your weapon damage abilities, which are a big chunk of your damage as a two-hander, you get a lot less scaling. You get 5 times less value on Obliterate and Soul Reaper from Mastery if you are two-handers than if you are dual-wield, and that's the reason that we do not go for Mastery. We're gonna take Crit first every single time. And finally, after that is gonna be Haste. We wanna reforge Haste away. Haste is always useful, but Crit is a lot more important, and even Mastery is better. You do not wanna be stuck in Haste. And this is actually the problem with the Frost Death Knight, and this is what makes it very strong at launch. It doesn't really need Mastery or Haste or Crit for that matter to do good damage. It will come online off the bat, but it also means that it will not benefit a lot from those stats. So it will get outscaled because the class design doesn't allow you to get any more power from stats. By the time you hit Throne of Thunder, most people are gonna be going to Unholy instead, but Frost is gonna be very strong early on. Your rotation, which is a lot simpler in two-handers. First of all, we're gonna put Frost Fever and Blood Plague on the targets. Do not forget, we have a very good cooldown Outbreak. It will do both at once, so if you can use that to refresh it, that's what you should do. Otherwise, you gotta stack it manually. Now, Frost Fever is not gonna be a problem because our filler spell is gonna refresh it every time, but Blood Plague, you only got Outbreak every minute and it lasts 30 seconds. So if Blood Plague runs out, you're gonna have to do a Plague Strike to put it back on the target. Every 30 seconds every minute you're gonna have to do it. Keep that in mind. Secondly, we got an Execute that's gonna be Soul Reaper below 35%. Our Execute phase is gonna be very strong early on because we got a very long Execute phase and fights are long on low gear. So you are gonna see Frost Death Knights top in a lot of fights in Mogushan for that reason. But yes, if we can execute, we're gonna execute on cooldown every single time. After that, whenever we get a proc of Rime, we're gonna do Howling Blast. Rime is a proc that every time you obliterate, you get a chance to get a free Howling Blast. It does a lot of damage, obviously. I am gonna put a Wikora in the Discord, in the Death Knight channel, that's gonna help you keep track of that. After that is gonna come, of course, Obliterate. Obliterate scales of weapon damage, and because we got 2 diseases on the target, is gonna do actually 275% weapon damage, and this is why Obliterate is gonna be something we're gonna be spamming a lot because it will do a quadrillion damage. There is a proc that will give you a free crit on Obliterate. I could put a Wikora in the Discord that will tell you when that happens, and I will, but you do not have to think about it because free crit or not, Obliterate for a 200 Frost Death Knight is gonna do a ton of damage and it's gonna be in the priority no matter what. Now after that is gonna be our filler, which is Frost Strike. Frost Strike doesn't consume any runes, but it will consume runic power. As a two-hander Frost, you're gonna be using it a lot less because Obliterate does more damage. That's not the case in dual wield, but it is the case for us. But there will be plenty of time when you cannot do Obliterate, and that brings me to my second point. When are you gonna cast Frost Strike? When you got runic power but no runes. And what does it mean? That you need runes. So I am gonna leave a macro in the Discord as well that's gonna make it so you cast Blood Tap, the one that turns blood runes into death runes, that's the universal runes, and Frost Strike at the same time. So that way you can do not think about Blood Tap anymore. It's gonna happen to you automatically, right? You could get a Wikora for it. I don't know of any that are good for automating that. Honestly, just put Frost Strike and Blood Tap in the same macro. It is not 100% perfect, but it is 95% of the way there. Nobody's gonna notice or care. Nobody's gonna think you're bad because you put Blood Tap on Frost Strike. It is one less button as well, I guess. And finally, if you are out of runic power and you cannot cast anything else, we are gonna do Horn of Winter, which, as we saw in the glyphs, we get a little more runic power from it. It is like a blood rage from a warrior. It is the same thing. If you do not have the resources to cast anything else, that's what you wanna cast. I am also gonna put a Wikora in the Discord that tells you exactly what to press in a sequence. It just shows you the icon you gotta press and you press it. I did not make this Wikora personally, but I think I am gonna make a tutorial on how to make one of these rotation helpers later on. I keep getting a lot of questions on that. They are really broken. In my opinion, they are totally cheating, but they are allowed and they are perfectly legal, so I am gonna use them. Now for AoE, your rotation is stupid easy. We're gonna do Howling Blast whenever we can because Howling Blast is AoE and it will do a ton of damage, with or without a proc. After that, we're gonna do Death and Decay. It is a slow ass dot that you put on the ground. It still does a lot of damage. It is just annoying. And as a filler, we're gonna be tagging every single mob we can with Plague Strike. and if we are capping on Runic power, we're gonna do Frost Strike instead, but we're trying to tap targets so we can put diseases on every boss at the same time. Now, because Frost Strike and Plague Strike do weapon damage, and they are such a vital part of your rotation, two-handed is gonna scale a lot better in AoE, and that's the main reason that I prefer and I recommend two-handed. Now, if you are fighting more than 4 targets, we're talking a true AoE pool, we are still gonna be feeling with Death Strike and Frost Strike all the time, but it is actually worth it to you to put 1 dot of each kind on one target and then spreading them with Pestilence. So I am gonna put it as a conditional in there. It is not worth it if the targets are gonna die quickly or if there is not a lot of them, like 4 targets, but if they are gonna survive, let's say 15 seconds or more, and then you got more than 4, Pestilence is actually a lot of damage as well. Death Knight AoE is very clunky and annoying because of that reason, because your best damage is sustained instead of burst, and most AoE ad phases, they die almost instantly, so you are still gonna be pretty crap at AoE in a lot of fights, not all of them, because sometimes you do have to cleave a lot of mobs for an extended period of time, but you need like 3 globals to start doing actually good damage, and that kinda freaking sucks. It is still better than Unholy, and it is certainly better than Dual Wield, but it is still below the average AoE of every other class, sadly. Now we have 4 cooldowns, and we're gonna talk about all of them at the same time, because you should pop them all at the same time, they are very simple to understand. We got Raise Dead, which is a 2-minute cooldown, you wanna pop it along your cooldowns. Your main cooldown you wanna be popping all the time is gonna be Pillar of Frost, which is a 1-minute cooldown only, and it is 20% extra strength. This is why we wanna stack strength so bad. It is so much value. Now, Pillar of Frost should pop along your other cooldowns every single time because it is only 1 minute and you can synchronize it perfectly with every other one. We do 2 Pillars of Frost and we're gonna be able to do Raise Dead again, for example, which is another cooldown. You just summon a ghoul, of course. We are gonna pop it on cooldown, but I will also put a weak aura that reminds you to pop it on cooldown because it is so freaking important. You also got Raise Dead. It is a ghoul. You do not wanna pop it along your Army of the Dead, which is your big cooldown that will do a lot of damage, 10 minutes, so you can only pop it once per fight and it should go to the Bloodlust phase. And every 5 minutes you got Empowered Rune Weapon. It will give you runic power and it will give you every single rune. Why do you use this for? You use it to get more value out of your cooldown uptime, okay? It doesn't really matter when you pop it, I will just do it on cooldown, but make absolutely sure you are doing it on top of Pillar of Frost. Your meta gem is gonna be the Reverberating Primal Diamond for 3% boom boom. Your red gem is gonna be the Inscribed Vermilion Onyx for 80 strength and critical strike, which is our best stat of course. Our yellow gem is gonna be the Smooth Sun Radiance for a ton of crit. Our blue gem is gonna be the Piercing Wild Jade for crit and hit. Our food is gonna be the Black Pepper Ribs and Shrimp for more strength. Our flask is gonna be the Flask of Winter's Bite for more strength. And our potion is gonna be the Potion of Mogu Power for more strength for a ton of boom boom value. Remember guys, you can still pre-pot, you wanna do it like a global before you pull, and then you wanna pot again when you pop your Bloodlust. You can do 1 per encounter, but you can cheese it and make it 2 if you pre-pot. Overall, the Frost Dead Knight is gonna be very strong early on. It will get outscaled by Unholy and even Dual Wield later on, and that kinda sucks. But I do not see any good reason not to go Frost two-hander compared to every other spec on the launch of the expansion, and also it is easier, it has better AoE than both Unholy and Dual Wield. There is really no reason not to go Frost two-handers, and it will be probably like top 3 of the melees. It will not dominate the expansion of course, but it will be very respectable. The utility is there. That 40% damage reduction dome is insane, and you are gonna absolutely want that in progression, and they will come online even if your gear sucks. So there is a ton of value for Frost DK, and I will always recommend it to new players. We are gonna do a guide for every single spec, so stay tuned for that. Check out the Discord for all the macros and the weak auras, and subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.